Hello everyone, this is Donnie aka Elevated with Dota Alchemy coming at you with another video today, and this is going to be a replay review that was requested on our Discord by one of our most active Discord users. We're going to be watching him play Luna, and we're going to be taking a look mostly at the early game, and we're going to try and learn how to apply pressure as a carry with a good start, and how to effectively snowball your good start into winning the game. So let's just get right into it. The first thing that I wanted to look at was just that we have, the runes coming up at the very beginning of the game, and down here we have a Jakiro and Luna, and I would like to see you guys invading this enemy rune just because Jakiro and Luna are very, very strong at level 1, especially together, and I think that it's better to pressure their offlaner off of the rune and force them to even try and fight you, because generally people will just take bad trades, and you could maybe start the lane off with a bunch of damage on their offlaner and potentially the Riki as well. Riki may try to steal your rune, but I think you could bully the Necro off, leave one hero here to grab the rune, and then grab the other one perhaps, and maybe even get both. But I think just kind of sitting here with your two very strong level 1 heroes is just not taking advantage of the fact that they are very strong at level 1. So in this particular lane, I'd really like to see you buying a stick basically as your first item. Necro is a hero that uses his spell pretty much off of cooldown, and you're going for a trade with him here, and you can see that he actually gets both you and Jakiro quite low just kind of by nature of being Necrophos, pressing his death pulse 2 or 3 times during the course of that fight, and you end up now, you show up to lane with I believe 6 tangos and a health potion, and now at 2 minutes into the lane, you're down to just 3 tangos. And we're seeing here that you're in another engagement with this Necrophos. I would guess that you'd probably have like 7 or 8 charges, maybe even 10 charges of your wand already at this point if you had just bought it, a minute ago at the side shop when you were near there. And as a result, you would have saved yourself there and perhaps even turned that around and killed the Necrophos. But instead, you end up dying on the Luna, and that's not what I would call an acceptable death, because you didn't need to die there. It was completely avoidable if you had the correct items and if you just weren't playing quite as aggressively as you are. And that's the next thing that I actually want to talk about, is that there's something that Jenkins and I have been talking about recently, which is called overplaying. And it's sort of this concept of, if you feel like you're strong or you're a better player, there's a tendency to kind of say, screw the matchup, and just, it doesn't matter what hero I'm playing, doesn't matter what hero I'm playing against, I'm just going to be able to outskill, outdamage, outplay them all the time. And so what I wanted to highlight here is that this matchup of Necrophos versus Luna is very Luna favored once it gets to like level 5 and 6, 7, something like that. But at the very early stages of the game, it's probably Necrophos favored. He has the range advantage, and while you do have a damage advantage, you're kind of dealing with the fact that there's a Riki, you don't really know where he is, and basically you can see that anytime you run up to try and trade with this Necrophos or even approach the creep wave, he just uses a death pulse, and you end up taking a bad trade, because not only is death pulse healing the Necrophos, but it's doing damage to you, and then he's also right clicking you on top of that. So you can see that at 4 minutes in, you have no regen, and yeah, you do have a stick now, but I think that you also need to start thinking about itemizing to have more regen in your build. And you ferry yourself out some tangos, which is one way to deal with it. But I think, prefer to look for some other options as far as regen items. I believe in this game you do end up going for Hurricane Pike, so you could consider even just buying the Ring of Regen and getting that little bit of passive HP regen and having it in your inventory for a while during the laning phase. I also think that Helm of the Dominator is a pretty good item this game, because you have quite a bit of pushing power. It would help you spike even earlier. Your team is a little bit lacking on Disable. Maybe not, but just having a Helm of the Dominator is always a pretty good item on Luna, just because of how quickly it lets you push, and it lets you kind of team fight better because you can stun people and hold them in place for your Eclipse. So if you were to go either the Ring of Health or the Ring of Regen, you would find yourself not having to ferry yourself a bunch of extra tangos and health potions all the time. And as this lane progresses, we end up seeing that you basically ferry yourself, I think, even another set of tangos and another health potion. So you're spending a ton of gold on regen, and it's basically just being burned through almost immediately. And so that's just something to think about, is think of the items that you're going to buy ahead, and if there is some way to integrate regen into your build if you're being harassed, or mono regen if you're using your spells a lot, it's really good to do that. And to go back to the overplaying point, we now have Luna at level 5 and this Necrophos is level 4, and this is just a really good example of what this matchup looks like at these later levels. With Jakiro there, you're able to slow the Necro down. It's pretty easy to burst him. You do a lot of magic damage, and obviously Necro is quite weak to magic damage because his Growth Shroud, which is his defensive ability, is not good against magic damage. Now here, I also wanted to highlight that I would like to see you going Eclipse instead of getting a second point in your Lunar Blessing. This doesn't really do a whole lot for you. You know, it's 8 damage versus basically having a kill threat that you can just pressure Necro out of lane with at all times. Think about this Eclipse as sort of like your trump card, or your get out of jail free card. You can just run at this Necrophos. He sees that the creeps are getting low, and you can pretty much chase him off the creep wave like you're doing right now, and then just Eclipse him. Basically, always just have that threat. As long as you have Eclipse, and maybe, you know, he doesn't know whether you have Eclipse or not, but so he might actually just be playing like that anyway. He might be playing scared, trying to stay in the creep wave. But having that Eclipse and being able to actually use it to get yourself a kill and bully him out of lane is really, really valuable. Also, if you level this Lunar Blessing up level 2, instead of getting Eclipse, you now will probably end up taking Eclipse at level 7, or maybe you'll take Lucent Beam at level 7, but either way, you're going to end up with a weaker Eclipse for 1 extra level, because even if you do take Eclipse at level 6, it's still only going to have level 3 Lucent Beam. So you got to remember that that interaction is how it works. Eclipse casts Lucent Beams, and so having this extra level, this extra 8 damage on all of your attacks, is actually reducing the damage on your ultimate by a pretty significant amount. So just keep that in mind. I think that the correct skill build is 4, 1, 1, 1, and then you max out glaives afterwards. So that's just something to keep in mind. Right here, Necro shows up back to lane, and you bully him out, and then you go farm this jungle camp. And I really don't like this move. Let's look at your last hits. You're very far ahead. You're 3 levels ahead of this Necro. He should not be able to just kind of sit here and bully your Jakiro. You should just be continually bullying him out. If you think about it, you're spending a Lucent Beam, and then you're basically letting him just regen it up by getting last hits instead of just constantly pressuring him. And if you're constantly pressuring him, your Jakiro can even start throwing liquid fires on the tower and start chipping this tower. And that's going to be kind of a theme. That's the theme of this video, really, is abusing your early lead to get more pressure and help your team win this game. You know, a level 8 Luna really should be able, especially a level 8 Luna Jakiro lane, should really be, you know, hitting this tower, pressuring this tower, because the faster you take this tower, the faster that you can go to the off lane and then pressure this tower. And the faster you can move mid and pressure this tower. So you guys, Jakiro and Luna, are some of the strongest early game pushers in the game. And I really want to see you abusing that fact instead of just kind of playing this passive farming game. And I think that you'll find that if you do that, you will end up having much more impact in the early game than you do in this one. And a little quick thing that I just wanted to point out is that most of your Lucent Beams have been cast without tread switching. Obviously, you do tread switch a couple times, so you know that that exists. And I would just encourage you to continue using that ability because it's just really valuable. There's no reason not to tread switch, basically. I think that, you know, this could have been done at least a couple minutes ago. I think it's kind of bizarre that your offlane tower has already been lost to, you know, like a Juggernaut Crystal Maiden lane, while you are just now taking this tower, especially with a Luna and Jakiro. So I just wanted to, again, point that out, that you have the ability to push really hard, and you should absolutely be abusing that, because the faster that you get your offlane tower down, the faster that you can take your over-farmed carry and apply pressure in other lanes and then give space to maybe the offlaner to get some much needed experience. Right here, I want to just kind of look at your, what I would call an engagement path. So you TP to the shrine and you're looking to go ahead and do what I was just talking about, which is to pressure the safe flight and tower on the enemy side of the map, which is really good. This is a good move. I'd like to see it done a little earlier, but this is still a good move. But right here, let's take a look. You and Sniper are running, I guess, to try and cut off somebody behind the tower. I guess you're trying to kill this Crystal Maiden or something. But your creeps are back here. Like, you're not coming here just to get kills. You're coming here to take this tower. So why not just go ahead and shove the wave into the tower and start hitting the tower? And if the enemy team wants to defend it, then you can take a fight. If you think about it, Eclipse is not really that good of a chasing spell. In fact, it's pretty terrible. It's a really good counter initiation spell because you want people to be grouped up around you so that they take the full brunt of the Eclipse. But if you're just running at somebody, like even if Sniper casts Shrapnel and you stun somebody and then you Eclipse and Mask of Madness, you might not even hit this Crystal Maiden with any of your beams, depending on whether she slows you down before you get there or not. So just kind of running in like this, we'll see that you're basically trying to wrap around. This just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It kind of speaks to maybe just your play style as a Dota player being a little too focused on kills instead of objectives. You know, you are the carry, so you should be taking this farm, you should be hitting this tower, and then if the other team would contest you, and you can see that you guys are very, very far ahead right now. 4K ahead at 13 minutes. You yourself are almost double the net worth of all of the enemy heroes. And so you should feel absolutely safe just running up and hitting this tower, knowing that you have a ton of counter initiation and crowd control behind you. And so I just wanted to point that out. You know, it's not like it's not a huge mistake necessarily, but it's sort of like a decision-making, positioning mistake that I'm sure that you don't just make in this game, and it's something that might carry over to some other games that you should be aware of. So you take the tier 1, you're pushing tier 2. This is good. This is what you should be doing. You're very far ahead. You're very strong. They can't really fight into you. This is what I like to see. And right here, they glyph, and you go over here and farm this medium camp. And this is another one of those sort of strange decision-making things that I wanted to point out, because if you think about it, like all that really has to happen, there could just be an Invoker standing up here and you would have no idea. There could be a Necrophos standing right here. You would have no idea. Obviously, you can see Invoker here. You can see their Juggernaut here, but you're putting yourself in a pretty bad position. If there is somebody standing here, all it takes is for one person to TP in. You're fairly far away from your team, and you can absolutely get bursted right now. You have 900 HP. And I know that you're probably thinking like, oh man, okay, well they glyphed. I need to be super efficient as a carry, so I'm gonna go get some farm. But by the time you actually get over here, the glyph has already ended, and you could be taking this tower even faster with your team. This, 60 gold or whatever you got from there is definitely not worth. We talked about having the threat of the Eclipse, and that being a very important part of this hero. And so we see here that you guys engage and get the Crystal Maiden, and then you drop the Eclipse right here basically just to kill the Necro, because this CM is already dead. And so it's hard to say. I kind of feel like you might have been able to kill this Necro without the Eclipse, and I would almost say that's not even worth it to kill the Necro with the Eclipse used, because again, if you have the threat of the Eclipse, it makes it much harder for the enemy team to be aggressive on you, because it's such a good counter initiation tool. So as we play this out, you guys end up going back here, you take the tier 2, and then you're going high ground, because, why not? Look, you guys are 6k ahead, you have this massively farmed Luna and Sniper, and I would actually be telling your Sniper, all right, thank you for killing the Jug mid and pushing out that wave, but now you got to run up here. Call your Sniper, come push top, because he ends up pushing mid. But if you had 5 here with this super farm Luna, super farm Sniper, you would absolutely be able to take this Rax. And so you guys end up hitting this tower and bringing it down, which is awesome. This is, you know, super early to be taking a tier 3 tower. But right here, if you had Eclipse, as soon as Ricky jumps in like that, let's go back and look at this again. As soon as this Ricky jumps in, if you still had Eclipse and you just popped your Eclipse, it's a level 2 Eclipse now, so it does a lot more damage, and you just ran at their team, right here, pop Eclipse, run at their team, you probably solo kill this Invoker and the Necrophos, right? Because look at this. Your Dark Willow hits an amazing Bramble Maze into Fear, into Bramble Maze again. Like, that was a fantastic combo by this Dark Willow. Imagine that your Eclipse is going this entire time. And yeah, sure, you're tanking Ricky hits, but who cares? He doesn't do that much damage right now. And you could be like, go, go, go. Now you kill both the Invoker and the Necrophos with your Eclipse, and suddenly you have a guaranteed Rax, I would say. As a result, because you don't have Eclipse, you guys end up backing out. You still get the tier 3, so that's good. Your sniper doesn't do a whole lot here, and he runs up and gets there a little bit late. But again, the focus of this video is taking your early lead, right? And let's look at the net worth graph. You guys are almost 10K ahead at 15 minutes. You should absolutely be abusing that lead, especially against a team with an Invoker that has no items, the Ricky that has no items, a Juggernaut that has no items, Necrophos has no items, and CM has no items. So you should just be go, 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 go at this point. And this is something that I see a lot of mistakes being made in pubs, especially at the lower MMRs, is just that you kind of like take your foot off of the enemy's throat. You have them on the ground, you're about to win, and then you kind of let up just because you're not sure whether you can continue pressuring or you would just rather get some more items or whatever. Anyway, that's just kind of an important concept because now you're going and farming bottom. So basically the last thing that I want to talk about, and this kind of exemplifies the entire purpose of this video, is that you go here, you push out this wave. This is good. Anytime there's a creep wave with a sieged unit that's going towards your towers and is on your side of the map, it needs to be dealt with. Otherwise, it will just take towers for free. But as soon as you clear that siege unit, I'd like to see you grouping up with your team. Because again, you guys are 7K ahead. You and the sniper are super, super farmed. You don't have your BKB yet, which is a little scary, but it's not that big of a deal. With your farm advantage, you should be able to just kind of barrel down lanes as long as you have a sentry ward or two to detect the Ricky and take fights on your terms all the time. Force the other team to either fight you or give up their free towers. Instead, you're up here just kind of farming jungle camps. You know, you're doing your quote-unquote carry thing, trying to accumulate more farm, when in reality, you already have enough farm to win fights. So you should be trying to take those fights. And as a result, your team ends up getting jumped on here. And this would not happen if you were here, because the other team is scared of you. They're 100% scared of you. They don't want to fight such a farmed Luna, but instead they're able to take this engagement and they end up killing your sniper, which is all of your team's damage basically. They end up killing your Jakiro, which is the push. And then basically this is a huge turning point in the game. Your Dark Willow goes down. And here's just one more example of what I was talking about in the previous point, is that this Ricky is just kind of just freely going on your sniper. You know, there are sentry wards. Maybe they weren't placed in time, but if you were there with your team, we can jump back again. If you were here with your team, there's like no chance that this Ricky goes on this sniper. So whether you need to be communicating with your team, you know, let's group up as 5, or if you don't feel comfortable communicating with your team, then you need to just go to your team. Like, you're here hitting this tower, but if you were here with your team, the Ricky would be dead, and your sniper would probably still be alive. And so yeah, you got, you know, you got some tower damage, but you end up not really accomplishing a whole lot and then dying on your way out because you're split up from your team. If you think about it like this, if you have a massive net worth advantage, but you're splitting up your team, it's basically like you don't have that net worth advantage. If you have 20k net worth on 2 heroes and then 10k net worth on the other 3 heroes, but the, you know, so it's 30k net worth, but the 20k net worth is somewhere else, then the 10k net worth can easily get killed by the other team because it's only 10k net worth. So you have to be really, really conscious of how strong you are and how that impacts the rest of the team and the other team. And in this case, you know, you're 11-3, you're very far ahead, but it's like you're not, because you're not with your team. And therefore your team is just getting picked off. And ultimately, you end up losing this game. So let's just quickly look at the itemization, just because there was one main thing that I wanted to look at, which was I'm not a huge fan of this rushed Hurricane Pike. I know that Pike is good and Force Staff is good against Ricky. In theory, it's good against CM, it's good against Invoker. But, you know what else is good against all of those heroes is BKB. And you're a hero that buys BKB anyway. So BKB kind of accomplishes what Hurricane Pike does. It allows you to attack in the smoke cloud. It allows you to avoid all of the damage, basically from their whole team. And so Pike is kind of it's more of a luxury item in this game. It's not a necessity. And if you had taken this extra gold and worked towards a Manta, I think Manta is very good this game because it allows you to push out the lanes with no risk. It would allow you to get out of CM's route and, you know, dispel things like Cold Snap without having to use your BKB. It would help you against Juggernauts, Omni Slash, confuse Necrophos when he's trying to ult you, etc. I think this is definitely a game to go Manta. I'm not totally averse to having the Dragon Lance and then going into Manta, etc. I think the rest of your itemization is fine. I think Scotty's good. I think Butterfly's good. Mask of Madness is good. BKB is obviously really good. But the one thing I really did want to highlight was just that I don't think Hurricane Pike is really that necessary this game. So it might just be kind of like the last item that you buy. I understand why you bought it, but just remember that you already have an item in BKB which your hero absolutely has to buy every single game that basically accomplishes what Hurricane Pike does in this game. And again, remember, your ultimate is better as a counter initiation tool. I assume that you kind of also bought Hurricane Pike so you could like jump on the enemy team with your Eclipse, and that sort of speaks to your playstyle of looking for kills over objectives, because if you just walked at the objectives and you had a Manta and you were threatening their towers, then they have to engage onto you, which allows you to use Eclipse and not have to worry about, you know, piking yourself onto the enemy team. So that's basically it. I think that mechanically and everything else, the game was pretty good from the Luna's perspective. It's just a matter of sort of not making the right decisions at the right time and maybe some small itemization choices as well. But thank you so much for submitting this replay. I think this is a really, really, really good learning replay for all the carry players out there who are wondering why they can't carry their team and get out of the MMR bracket that they're in. Good luck, have fun, everyone, and we will see you next time.